Okay, there we go.
All right, thank you. All right, we will call this meeting to order at 7:11. This board of directors has written and supports a land acknowledgement statement and an anti-racism statement. We have both of them posted on the board's website for the community to read. Roll call right now. Noel is technical difficulties, I think, with the Zoom, and Joel said he is going to be a little bit late. So, do we have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Move to adopt the agenda.
Second.
All those in favor? All right. So moving on to announcements, and I'll turn it over to Paula here.
Thanks, AJ. I have a statement actually that I'd like to read. It states that after having informed the president and the board earlier of this decision, I would like to announce to the community that I will be resigning my position on the board effective this evening. I'm resigning at this time due to the fact that my family and I have made the decision to move primarily due to increasing career demands. I've struggled with whether to continue serving on the board as we go through this process, but I feel that this is the right timing for a few reasons. First, over the coming weekend and again in the weeks ahead, all members of this board and the new long-range planning committee will be engaging in a joint work session to craft a brand new vision and mission for Sudden Valley. Budgeting season and all the decisions that go along with it are just around the corner. And truly at every board meeting, we have the opportunity to make decisions that affect both the short and long-term health and vitality of this community. Due to those and other considerations, I do not feel it's right or fair for me to continue serving on the board. In the end, while I can certainly stay and continue for a short time until we sell our home, in the end, I don't believe it's in the spirit of the qualification that a board member be an owner to remain when I fully know that my opinions and votes today will not directly affect me or my family tomorrow. It's my hope that this will allow plenty of time to reseat my particular position in time to have a fully intact board when it comes to begin the next budget process. Sudden Valley has been my home and my family's home for the last 5 years. And while it hasn't turned out to be the forever home that we hoped it would be when we moved here, it's been one in which we've made forever friends and created great memories. I've appreciated the opportunity to contribute to this community, and I wish this board every success as it moves forward. And so with that, I just want to really say thank you for the opportunity to serve this community again, and reiterate that it's been an honor to serve with you guys. So I really appreciate it. I also want to thank staff for being fabulous. You guys have been great to work with as well. And with that, I'm going to dip. I'm going to go have an evening. You guys have a great time, and best wishes to everybody.
Thank you, Paula.
Happy trails, Paula.
Thanks, Paula.
Thanks.
Good luck to you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, we wish Paula good luck in her future endeavors. Do we have any other announcements? Suppose we probably need to have a discussion on posting an open board position now.
Yes, indeed. You need to make the request.
So I think that has to get posted, Linda.
So I have a template for this position, and it's just what I have, and I'll tell you what I have and you guys can see if you agree. Part of it, so you have to have it open for 30 days. You're going to have at least 2 candidates apply. But the applications, I need to check with staff tomorrow. I left a call for Rachel late today. Rachel, call me in the morning if you're going to be into work. There's an application online. It's an old application, and I want to make sure that goes away and the newest one goes up that we have for the vacancy and stuff. If we can get it up tomorrow, it'll be up for a 30-day period that will begin tomorrow on Friday, February the 26th, and close on Monday, March 29th, 2021, due to the fact that the end of the 30 days falls on Sunday, March 28th. And I never like to have it be, I always like it to be sometime when the office is open, in case somebody wants to just drop off an application and stuff. I then have, and this is up to you guys too, candidate interviews and appointments will be held at the April 8th, 2021 board meeting. If we get 2 applicants.
I know I will be gone on vacation, and that's the dead middle of spring break.
Can we, is the application or the date we need them to be available on the application then, I'm assuming? So we have to set that tonight then?
It's kind of nice because there's a beginning paragraph at the beginning of it that kind of explains how that the fact that when the interviews will take place. I have to wait until I get candidates to give them the actual letter and stuff. Some of you have gone through this process when you've applied for the vacancies and stuff. I know Brian has and stuff, but I always try to have the interview and appointment to be held at April 8th. If we go beyond the 30 days, then I issue a new notice for 30 days with new dates and interview times. If you want to wait until the second meeting in April, you can do that too. I just try to do it at a board meeting.
Okay. Trying to think. Glenn, do you have any, this is a bit, a little bit far out, so I'm not sure we've, planned quite that far in advance, but.
We have started to for all the meetings, but if you wanted to do it the 8th or the 22nd, whatever works, whatever your pleasure is, there's definitely plenty of space on both agendas right now to take care of that.
Okay.
Glenn, just so you know, usually the interviews and stuff take place. Usually we start the meeting early so that by the time we come into the regular open session, the only thing left to do is make an announcement, and they need to vote in open session.
Sure. Yep. It sounds like when I was looking at everything, it's very similar to most boards, and that's pretty similar. So yeah. But to me, if we're going to do it early, then that. And if you have lots of applications, we can always move our meeting time to accommodate. But
usually we know how many candidates we have at the closure of the period, and then do I need a half hour? Do I need an hour? There was one time, how many applicants did we have? 6 or 8 once. Wow. That it was like, was dine and have the interviews. But normally we try to do that process early, mainly because it's kind of a private thing. Normally when we do it in person, each person comes up and is interviewed in front of the board independently, and you only can do that in a Zoom meeting at a webinar. Sure. And John does a bunch of stuff for us, keeping the candidates in a room, and then lets them in one by one to be interviewed by the board.
Sure.
So,
okay.
But that's, like I say, that's like a whole separate meeting onto itself.
Right. So you would, staff, you and I would coordinate on that once we pick a date, then we'll get that all lined out.
Yep, absolutely. I
Okay.
just need the board to decide what, if they want to do it the 8th or the 22nd. I don't think you want to have a special board meeting, do you, AJ?
I would rather not. I think we've had enough special board meetings so far this year, so that would be my preference would be, yeah, maybe just a quick 6 p.m. start or whatever to accommodate, a little bit of extra time for that in the meeting. Yeah.
Do you want to do it the
Is-
8th or the 22nd? That's up to you.
if it
Justin's already
closes-
said he's not available.
Yeah, I'm just saying I'm not available, but you guys can certainly go ahead if you guys want to do it on the 8th.
Linda, you're quoting them on Mondays, the 8th or the 20th, Mondays?
8th of April,
The 8th of April.
the
Okay,
Thursday.
okay, I'm sorry. I'm like, why are Mondays? That's an extra meeting. Okay, we're talking April, right?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
29th of March, it would close, 8th of April meeting or the 22nd.
Yep. You guys need to vote and then I can put up notice. Hopefully I can get with Rachel tomorrow or somebody on staff and I have the form that I want, but in looking for applications, I was able to find an old one that's floating around somewhere that still comes up for us. And I want to make sure nobody uses that.
Been down that road before.
Yes, we have.
Is it enough time to turn around from the 29th to the 8th with everything?
I think so.
Or,
You're
and then
gonna
my other
have-
thing is does anyone feel like they will know for sure already they'd be missing the 22nd? If no one knows for sure, we could just do that. So we have a full board participating. That would allow us to advertise for a little bit longer than 30 days, technically.
Yeah, but the bylaws say 30 days. Well, it says, I
Minimum.
think a minimum. But I like time to be able to send, number one, the applications to the board to review. And also make sure that the candidates can be there for the, I also ask for confirmation from them, on the day that it is. I just need a date from you.
I guess I would propose the 22nd.
Okay.
So we can have a full board. Justin can participate.
Second,
Anybody have any issues with that? Do we okay, let's plan on the 22nd then for the interviews. Do we have a date we'd like to close the application then? Do we just want to close it 2 weeks in advance on the 8th? And then get it open as soon as, whether that's tomorrow or Monday, basically, whatever we get pulled off, we can get it advertised. That would give us that would meet our 30-day minimum notice. And then that would give the board 2 weeks and the community 2 weeks to.
So
view the
you want to go
candidates.
to April 8th then for closing?
It's a thought. We could extend it a little bit longer, give people a little bit more time.
Maybe
I'm trying to get a notice ready here because I know Brent's online and I'm ready to send him something here. to
Gives us
put
a
in the
couple
views.
days too of leeway if, to get this thing posted and, everything formalized and ready to get posted.
Gotcha. I just would really I try to get it posted as soon as we can after the vacancy occurs. Because if we go long, that's not a problem, and I can just change the date and I can send him that for notice so it can get posted in the views.
Okay. Does
Okay,
anybody have any objections to an April 8th closing for accepting applications at end of business day, April 8th? No? All right, let's do that, Linda, then. We'll
Okay.
accept applications through end of business day, April 8th, and host interviews on our board meeting, April
The 22nd.
22nd at 6 p.m. is when
Yeah.
we'll start.
Can I make a suggestion
Sure.
to put 4:30 instead of close of business or both?
Okay, yeah.
I always
Okay.
put 4:30 on the notice.
Does the
Are we-
Sun Valley office close
we-
at 4
I think we're
though?
closing at 4 right now.
Yeah, it should be 4 or 3:30.
Well, but are they, here's the question for staff then. Are they still going to be closing early in April?
We can't predict that.
Can't answer that right now, but that's a good question. I would say, let's say 4 right now, and then
Yeah,
if that
yeah,
changes, we can.
That's a great idea, because if we put all the information out there early, then the people who want to turn in their application last minute, if they work, then they know, well, I need to do it the night before. So that's perfect.
Hey, you gotta ask Brian. He comes running up at the last minute. I'm always there at the close, so that to make sure that, you know, the office is there and accepting applications and everything else. And every now and then Brian comes running in.
Would it be better to make it
Okay.
a Friday? Make it the 9th?
Huh?
Would it be better to make it a Friday, maybe the 9th, just because it's the end of the work week?
Nah.
No, let's do Thursday. Nobody likes to be pestered at the end of the day on a Friday.
Yeah.
That's true.
No one wants to be bothered to hand things in either at that time. They're thinking, where's the nearest brew pub?
That's true.
Tacos.
Do those exist anymore?
Just know, Brent, I'll have something to you either, probably in the morning. I'll have
As long as
something
it's
for the
as long as
March
it's
youth.
by Monday, that's great.
Okay, I'll probably do it tomorrow.
I'd like to point out that tomorrow is Friday, Linda. No.
Hey, they're just days to me anymore, let me tell you. Thank you, guys.
All right. Now we got that all set. Is there any other announcements?
Ooh, I have one. I think, but I don't know the exact date, the county library branch here in the adult center is going to be open at 25% capacity. I think right after the 1st of March. I'm just not sure if it's the 1st of March or if
It's
it's
March
the day
1.
after that.
It's March 1, Linda.
March 1? Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
All right. Any other announcements? Hearing none, we will move to property owner comments.
All right, we'll have our first property owners comments session here. Just use the raise hand feature in Zoom down at the bottom of your screen. Click that and we'll bring you on over. And looks like we've got Nancy here. I'm gonna go ahead and bring her to the meeting. Nancy, go ahead and unmute.
I
And,
think I'm unmuted.
all right.
Okay, I'm Nancy Alionat for Sandalwood Circle. And I have really a question for the Lake Watcom Water and Sewer District folks who possibly are listening and possibly aren't. But anyway, I'll read it and hope. Okay, a month ago, I was appointed the Sudden Valley representative to the Lake Watcom Policy Group, and the Water and Sewer District also has a representative. At the last policy group meeting, I asked to be included in the group's data management team. Now, it benefits Sudden Valley to have input into the data team because they're the ones that recommend which Lake Watcom projects get funded and which projects don't get funded. Unfortunately, the Water and Sewer District rep did not support Sudden Valley joining the data team. So apparently the Water District would rather Sudden Valley not have representation. At least that's my conclusion. It makes me wonder if there is an inherent conflict of interest between being a Water District commissioner and serving on a Sudden Valley board or committee, because you're trying to serve both interests and it may not be possible. So one wins and the other loses. So I would like someone from the Water District who will be speaking, I hope, to please give us their thoughts, his or her thoughts on conflict of interest between the two groups. That's really it. Thank you.
Thank you,
All right.
Nancy. I have a comment. May I respond, Mr. President?
Go ahead.
I'm wondering if we could draft a letter maybe and ask those questions in support of Nancy.
Stephanie, I think that's a great idea.
I don't think it's a bad idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because she's looking for answers, and I, as a Sudden Valley resident, am immediately concerned when we're denied representation. I'm tired of being treated like a second or third cousin out here paying double taxes. So,
Steffi,
yes,
I refer to it as being a cash cow.
So do I. Yes. So, is it okay to ask who is the Lake Whatcom Water and Sewer District representative then?
From Sudden Valley, there's two of them currently on the Water District Board. There's Leslie, who's our representative, and then there is Laura Abley is her last name now, and she's been on there since 2010, and she's the president of the Water District Board.
Okay. So since 2010, I'm just assuming here, then Leslie is taking issue with us having a representative on the board. Am I correct?
Leslie was at the meeting and said nothing, but she was not the official representative at the meeting.
Okay. Well, I think that in the letter, we should name the representative who had issue. And also we would like the Lake Whatcom Water and Sewer District to answer that question, as we are paying a lot out here. So we would like an answer to that, definitely. Thank you. And thank you for all the information, the clarity. I'm done. I'll quit taking up time.
Well,
I was curious, was Laura there as well? I mean, at the...
I don't think so.
Okay.
It's the only person who was an actual member of the policy group is Bruce Ford. And he was there as a member. Leslie was there and Todd Citron were there, but not as members.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Leslie, Nancy, what was the rationale given? I'm sorry if you covered that and I missed it, but was there a rationale given for not including Sudden Valley?
Yeah, it boils down because they don't have to, but that's debatable. It's really up in the air. And I did send a couple of emails going over two things that have input on it. One is a joint resolution, and the other between the city, the county, the water district, and Sudden Valley. And the other is an interlocal agreement, which the city now, well, it's not something I can talk too fast, and it's not the kind of thing to get into at this meeting on a public comment thing, unless you have all night. So, and you don't, and I don't. So let me leave it for a little bit. The water district guy Bruce Ford just didn't really say anything. So, and I'm not asking for a water district explanation of what they did. I'm asking about, is it a conflict of interest to be in both places?
Absolutely. And we've had that issue before. So I also think that our residents our community would want to know the second part, why they're denying us representation. But I agree. That is a question. I didn't mean to minimize your statement. Sorry.
I was trying to keep a short topic that can be answered.
Okay, well, we can, Nancy, would you be willing to help us draft a letter for that, kind of outlining your concerns, and then the board can review it?
With pleasure.
All right, that would be great. You know, if anyone has any further comments or questions about, I'll let you chime in here, Joel, about it too. We can always, you know, ask some questions via email. You know, we can, something I was considering, Nancy, and I've been meaning to send you an email, I just haven't got around to it, is maybe having you get on the agenda for our next meeting and just give the community kind of an update of, because I think you had a meeting, correct?
Yes.
So maybe give an update to the community on that as well. Joel, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I was just going to say to Justin, as chair of the documentation review committee and all of that, I know we already have the language that says board directors aren't supposed to have conflicts of interest, but we've seen that that's in the past several examples of that, people getting away with that. It would be great to revisit that and make sure that we can maybe clearly spell out what a conflict of interest is, and the process that the rest of the board goes through to remove people who put themselves in that position. Just something to consider.
Yep, agreed. Well,
Okay, anything else, Nancy? We will circle back with you if you want to get us a draft of that letter here sometime when you get a minute, and then we'll go from there.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, thank you, Nancy.
Thank
you, Nancy.
Thanks, Nancy.
Would you like that on the next agenda, the 25th, for Nancy to come give an update?
Would that work for your schedule, Nancy, or you can get back to us too?
Okay, just let me know which meeting you'd like to go, Nancy, and we'll get you on there.
Okay.
All right, thanks again, Nancy. I'll go ahead and return you to the attendees. Anybody else for property owners' comments? Just use raise hand in Zoom. We will have another session of this at the end of the meeting, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Not look like we have any more comments at this time, so we will keep moving on. And I think we are going to bring Justin Clary in. He is the general manager of the Lake Whatcom Water and Sewer District. Sorry if that's not actually your actual title.
Correct. I'll go ahead and add him as a panelist in case he has something to share.
All right. Thank you very much. Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Perfect. So again, Justin Clary, General Manager of the Lake Whatcom Water and Sewer District. Thank you so much for having me, Mr. President, Board of Directors, Setting Valley community members, and staff. So historically, I've provided a presentation every 2 to 3 times a year, just on what the district has going on within Sudden Valley to the Board of Directors. However, it's been over a year now since I've done so, just based on pandemic and other items of interest going on. So thank you to Mr. Akramov for setting some time on your agenda this evening, so I can possibly, with a newer board, I thought I would give a little bit of history on the district, our services within the community, certainly answer any questions you might have, as well as provide a presentation on some of the projects we have completed in Sudden Valley over the past year, and projects that are upcoming in the coming year. And then I will certainly also try to address Ms. Alianak's questions or concerns to the best I can. I will caveat, though, that I've only been with the district a bit over 2 years now, so I don't have quite the history on the Lake Whatcom Policy Group that or management program that some do, but I'll do my best shot to answer the questions on that. So if that is okay to you guys, I'll start off with kind of the history and the background of the district. Please do not hesitate to ask any questions as I proceed through this. So the Lake Whatcom Water Sewer District was formed in 1968, originally as Water District number 10, to address some water quality issues that were found in the lake associated with septic systems in the Geneva community. And so originally we were formed to sewer the Geneva area, and then subsequently Sudden Valley began development in the early 1970s. In the mid 70s, the district took over operation of both the Geneva Water Company and the Sudden Valley Water Company, as well as extended sewer service along the north shore of Lake Whatcom as well. Currently, we operate 3 Group A water systems. Our largest one is certainly the one that serves the south shore of Lake Whatcom. It's referred to as our South Shore system within the Department of Health guidelines. Our water treatment plant, as you've probably seen, is located down right between AM and PM beaches, with our water intake coming in off of AM beach about 70 feet down below the water surface. And then that water treatment plant, we then treat the water, which is then sent throughout the South Shore. So a series of reservoirs and piping that serves both Geneva and Sudden Valley. We also have 2 other smaller Group A water systems up along the north shore of Lake Whatcom. In total, we have about, we have 5 pump stations, 2 water treatment plants. We have storage capacity of about 3.1 million gallons, which is in different reservoirs throughout our various systems. And then on the sewer side, we don't treat sewer. It's the goal is to collect and convey all the sewage that's generated within the watershed out of the watershed. And so we have an interlocal agreement with the city of Bellingham, in which we collect all the sewage and convey it to the city system and then onto their Post Point treatment plant down in Fairhaven. So that's how we operate that. As far as sewer, we have 28 sewer lift stations. So just the topography of the watershed creates challenges to convey sewage out of the watershed. We actually, I think I've presented this board in the past, where at the far extremity of our system, which is out in Sudden Valley, you can flush your toilet at that extremity, and it's got to go through 7 different lift stations, a series of pumping to get it out of the watershed for treatment at the city. So pretty elaborate system, considering a population of about 11,000 people that we serve between Sudden Valley, Geneva, and the north shore of Lake Whatcom. We have a staff of 18 professionals. We're served by 5 board of commissioners that are elected from amongst the service area. As you guys were indicating just a bit ago, there are a couple of Sudden Valley residents currently serving on the board of directors. Laura Obley serves as our president, and then Leslie McRoberts serves as a commissioner. We're actually going to be going through the process once we get the 2020 census data here later this spring. We're anticipating it. We'll be going through the process of reviewing that to ensure that the 5 district boundaries are fairly equal in population served size. So that will likely take place later in this year when we look at if we need to do any sort of redistricting. I'm anticipating there probably will be a bit more, considering the bulk of the growth over the last 10 years has been in the Sudden Valley area. So I can see that Commissioner Obley and Commissioner McRoberts, their districts probably shrinking a bit in size as others expand more into the outer boundaries of it. So, but that'll be what we find out, once we actually get the census data and can start looking at population allocation throughout the service area. Other items of interest. So certainly, as I said, we're governed by a body of 5 commissioners. We operate as a special purpose district under a revised Code of Washington, Title 57. Our board of directors meets twice monthly. The second Wednesday of each each month for an evening meeting, and then the last Wednesday of each month for a morning meeting. And those are all open to the public, just as your meetings are as well. So very similar in format and everything. So that's kind of the history on and the services that the district provides. As far as projects within Sudden Valley, you've got in your packet a list of projects. I'm not going to belabor all of them. But a couple ones of highlight over the past year. So one project that's really an ongoing project that we really try to work hard on is our sewer system rehabilitation. We're out cameraing the collection lines frequently to try to find areas where there might be defects in the system, where either you could have sewage spills out or you have groundwater or surface water flowing in. That's very costly because, as I said earlier, we have an interlocal agreement with the city of Bellingham for treatment, and we pay on a volumetric basis. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to pay for treating groundwater that's in our collection system. So we're out there oftentimes trying to identify where there might be leaks in the system and fix those quickly. Other projects of interest in the 2021 horizon, we started last year and are working through it now. The Sudden Valley Water Treatment Plant was constructed in the early 1970s. The last major upgrade of that plant was in the early 90s. So that plant is knocking on about 30 years in age. And so while it's operating well, we actually have been receiving just this last year, for the 19th consecutive year of this Department of Health issues a top platinum award for water treatment plants that have operated without any regulatory issues. And so we're pretty proud. We're one of 4 treatment plants in the state that have this record and are looking to continue that. But along those lines, equipment ages and regulations change. And so we're looking into the future and trying to create a master plan for how we can strategically upgrade this plant over a multi-year period. So it's not one big humongous cost and project all at once, and how we can phase that without impacts to our customers. So that's been an ongoing project that we've been working on last year and are hoping to wrap up later this year. Let's see, another project that would be of interest to you guys is the Division 30 reservoir booster pump station. We're looking to replace some programming in it so that a lot of the controls, the computer controls are getting aged and out of date. And so that's another system that we try to upgrade on a regular basis to make sure that we're able to monitor and maintain our systems in top shape. Let's see. What else? Another one that's down there that's beyond 2021 that I do want to apprise the Sudden Valley community of is the upgrades to the Post Point plant. So this is a little bit out of the district's control. It's a city of Bellingham owned plant. We own 5% of the capacity of the plant, and so through our interlocal agreement, we're on the hook for paying for 5% of any capital upgrades to that plant. That Post Point plant, currently for their solids handling, they do so by incineration, which is a pretty high carbon footprint mode of addressing solids that are an outcome of the wastewater treatment plant process. And so they're looking to convert from incineration, which is those incinerators are at the end of their service life, to something that would allow for creation of a Class A biosolid that's essentially something that can be sold on the market for putting in your garden and things like that. The challenge with that is it's going to be a very, very expensive project in the realm of $200 million, which at 5% for us is a $10 million project, which will be the largest project that the district has ever financed. And I keep trying to explain to my board of directors that it's going to be hard to spend that kind of money on something and we won't even own a nut or bolt in the plant. We just will own that capacity. But that's coming down the pike in the probably next 5 or so years. And we've been working with the city on value engineering that to make sure that it's done correctly and appropriately. Another one that is certainly right in the forefront for right now that is not on this list that just popped up in the last month is we had a pretty major water transmission main break in the line that serves our Division 30 reservoir. It's in a location that is right off of Lake Whatcom Boulevard in a steep forested slope. It took us a while to get to it just based on where it was located at and how to get to it. It's we've got a bypass line in right now, and we have RAM construction ready to start the actual final or permanent fix this next week. But that's going to be $100,000+ project for us that we're not anticipating, unfortunately. But it's a very, very difficult project, and that will necessitate closure of Lake Whatcom Boulevard south of its intersection with Lake Louise Road for a few days during the daytime, so that RAM can construct the line down to our booster pump station across Lake Whatcom Boulevard and then up that steep slope. So that's another one that's right on the very horizon for us. Other items that have popped up, we just received word today that the district has gained EnviroStar certification. So that is a green business certification process that we've been going through for the past year, looking at our various business practices and looking at how to shift the way we can to a greener and more sustainable measures. And so we've gained that certification. We're quite excited about that. And then last but not least, as a way of just kind of staying in tune with what's going on in the district, certainly welcome anybody and everybody to follow us on Facebook. We've got a Facebook page that we're trying to update on a fairly regular basis. So that's it on the district. And before I dive into trying to answer Ms. Alianak's question or comments, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have on this information that I provided. Ms. Bradley?
I have a question. One of the projects that's scheduled for 2021 is the Division 7 Reservoir pre-design. I was curious, it says that you're going to be receiving grant money from FEMA. How does FEMA, I always thought that was unless you had a real emergency. And the other thing I was curious about, is that the reservoir that's up on Swallow Circle there in Gate 2? The reason I ask is I know the Water District has access through Sudden Valley to that reservoir. Does that service us, or does that service the FERS there?
So the FEMA grant, first off, it was actually a few years ago, there was an emergency declaration that somehow there was a countywide one associated with flooding that we were able to somehow piggyback on. This was before I got with the district. We're able to piggyback on that and use that as a reason, because that reservoir, which is located off, that's the correct one. It's off of like Grandview, up right above kind of Lake Louise and up in there. Yes, correct. So that reservoir was constructed in 1971. It's a 1 million gallon reservoir. It was constructed by the original Sudden Valley developer. And obviously something built in 1971 does not have the size, doesn't meet seismic standards of today. And so that was the nexus between our ability to apply for that FEMA grant. It has been, as I said, I've been with the district just over 2 years now. And when I joined the district, we had found out about it, and we're still waiting on that funding. So it's been pretty slow in coming. I keep being informed by the state representative for FEMA that we will get that funding. But the next step would be then to start the pre-design on that. And so that's what I have listed there is looking at siting what would actually be 2 reservoirs to replace that one reservoir. That one reservoir was built to serve, when Sudden Valley was originally platted, many more homes than what are now available. In the, I believe it was the 1990s, early 2000s, Sudden Valley went through a process of removing a number of lots from being eligible for development. And so that reservoir is actually now oversized for the service area that it provides. And so we actually, as a water purveyor, you have to maintain a chlorine residual to ensure disinfection of the water, disinfected waters providing throughout the system. And what can happen is that reservoir size so large, we don't have quite the throughput of water or demand on that reservoir as would be needed. So we start worrying about whether or not we're going to maintain our chlorine residual throughout the system at times. And so what we would do is actually construct 2 reservoirs of similar size, but smaller in total volume, so that we would provide us a little bit more resiliency as well for taking one offline for maintenance while using the other one. Or if there was an issue with, a seismic issue with one or something like that, we would have that flexibility of operation. And so that's what we're looking at. Likely, right now, the current reservoir is on Sudden Valley Community Association property. We likely would start looking for siting the other 2 reservoirs, probably on the FERS property that's a little higher up, and allow us to, continue to operate the existing one while we construct the other one.
Yeah, I just was concerned because I know there's at least 2 homes up there that if you walk outside their front doors, especially the one, you could throw a rock and hit that water tower real easy.
Yeah.
I just worry if there's going to be a lot of construction up there that, there's homes up in there and it's kind of a strange area to work from. It's not bad for maintenance, but if they're going to do major construction off that easement, that it would be hard. That's all. But thank you for the information.
Thank you. Yes, Ms. Holland.
Thank you. I'm curious, the reservoir that you're talking about up by Swallow Circle, how many homes does that service?
Oh gosh, it's kind of that, I'm not sure exactly how many homes, I can't say, but it's that whole area down below and even over across, I believe it serves all the way over across the golf course and through that other community down below there.
Okay. Because I remember you said that that was overbuilt, but then when we had our density reduction, but the density reduction happened mostly within gate 3 to 13 in that central part. Most of gates 2 and 1 are already built out. So
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much I'd have to talk to our engineers on that one. Sorry.
That's okay.
Any other questions on the district? Yes, Mr. Inderkin, I guess, or?
Yeah, you nailed it. Thanks for being with us this evening, and I'm really excited that you're here and really great, thorough presentation. I appreciate everything that you shared with us tonight. It's really informative for me. On your post-point wastewater treatment, the Beyond 2021,
yes.
Do you have any idea of the funding mechanism behind that now? It might be too premature, but are you looking at capital? Are you looking at grants? Maybe a possible levy? What are your thoughts?
We'll certainly look at whatever grants and low interest loans that we can acquire. Unfortunately, these days there's not as many available to utilities. I saw a statistic here a while back that available external federal and state funding for public utilities has decreased by 77% from 1977. So it's much more now where utilities are faced with self-funding their projects. And so likely through a municipal bond type approach is how we would fund this with a long-term payoff of the loan. That's the likely scenario. Certainly we will be working with the city on looking at any ways we can fund it with other funding as well. But yeah, it's a big one that we're thinking very, very hard about now when it's not even, it's just on the horizon 5 years out. Other questions? Mr. Dobbins?
Thank you. Yeah, just getting some clarification. So in the agenda, and I think you might have mentioned it tonight as well, there's about 4,000 water hookups, right? 4,300 sewer connections.
Correct.
Sudden Valley is like easily the majority shareholder, right? We're like 3,000 out of the 4,000 or something like that.
Yeah, I would say you're probably about, Sudden Valley is about 60 to 65% of the overall district customer base.
Okay, so and we're in Whatcom County, so it makes sense for Whatcom County to communicate with you guys. And you might answer this when you talk about Nancy's question, but it would be great to understand if when we are that much of your revenue, how we get that representation. And
Sure.
it'd just be great to understand that. And it's great to have contact. I didn't realize that we were that big of a share of you guys.
Yeah, you certainly are very significant. Other questions? Ms. Jones?
Hi, thanks for coming tonight. Yeah, so my interest was piqued when you said that the districts in Sudden Valley were shrinking. You mean that basically it feels like they're shrinking because of the other growth, right? Because we feel a little populated over here.
So, and I would encourage you to, if you go on the district's website and under, I think it's the About tab, Board of Commissioners, those actually a commissioner district map. And so what you'll actually see is of the 5 districts that were set back in 2010 based on population, 2 of those district boundaries are wholly within Sudden Valley. 2 other of those boundaries actually, 2 other districts' boundaries extend partially into Sudden Valley. So of the 5 districts, there is the potential for Sudden Valley representation on 4 of those 5 seats. The one that runs along the North Shore, the one that Ms. Alienak referred to, Bruce Ford. So that there's one district that runs essentially covers the whole North Shore of Lake Whatcom and then wraps around Lake Whatcom and tucks into the very kind of southeastern end of Sudden Valley there. Then Commissioner Obley and Commissioner McRoberts, their boundaries are wholly within it. Then there's two other boundaries, one that's wholly within Geneva and the other one that is kind of split Geneva and then it extends into Sudden Valley. And so when I said by constricting, I mean those 2 that are wholly within Sudden Valley, because there's been most of the growth and population growth in Sudden Valley, I see those 2 that extend somewhat into Sudden Valley having to extend further in to accommodate, to address all the growth that's happening. And those 2 that are wholly would shrink in size because there's no population. Yeah. Does that make sense?
It makes sense what you're saying, but I don't know if I like that because it sounds like somebody who has just a little piece of Sudden Valley isn't really interested in representing us. So maybe it should just be neighborhood by neighborhood. I hate to segregate things like that, but
yeah, unfortunately, under state statute, as a special purpose district, we have to allocate within our service boundary equivalent or near equivalent population basis. And so that's the only way that we can accommodate that state requirement.
So it has to be a certain number. It can't be larger.
Right. We couldn't like say just, 2 boundaries within Sudden Valley because that's, like I said, that's 60 to 65% probably of our customer base. And so it needs to be more adequately shared and spread throughout the area.
Okay. So basically we can't redo boundary lines at all.
I guess I'm not quite understanding your redoing boundary lines or what we'll do is the boundary lines we will shift the boundary lines so that they create 5 relatively equal sized population bases within the district service area. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that completely makes sense. But I guess maybe I'm not making sense. Can anyone help me? Does anyone understand what I'm saying? I guess I'm kind of concerned about representation. If somebody has I guess it goes back to conflict of interest. So I'll be quiet and let us all move on.
That's about just about what I was about to say is who's in charge of drawing those lines? Is it kind of you said it's based off census, but like kind of, is it a, don't want to use the word gerrymandering, but like who gets to draw the lines basically?
So ultimately, is what, at least what we did, what I'm told we did 10 years ago was we got the census data, gave that to our consultant engineer, and they looked at this census data and tried to figure out, and it's got to be done. The challenge is it's using the census data, which is based on I'm drawing a blank on the right term. So it's not like you can just set there's certain, it's not neighborhoods. I'm drawing a blank on what that term is within US Census, but it's got to be based on various areas. And then you, I think they're blocks or tracks maybe.
Yeah.
And so that's how they're set, is trying to create equal populations with using those. Yes, Ms. Harris.
With respect to what Steffi was asking, and then also on Justin, I guess with the 2020 census, that probably needs to be revisited. But also I'm just hearing, what I'm hearing is the lines are being drawn to create equal numbers of people, but what I'm not hearing is whether or not that disadvantages Sutton Valley, because they're being drawn in a way where our representation's being taken away as the bulk of the people that are on the water. And then I understand we're paying for this, right? So I feel like if we are the majority of it, we certainly should have representation, with what Miss Nancy was referring to. So that's my question that's outstanding, is, are those lines being drawn to disadvantage Sutton Valley because we do have a majority of people in the district?
Yeah.
Can you clarify? It sounds like is it a public process done through public meetings, or when do we anticipate that would happen? And you know,
yeah,
I think it sounds like, you know, people want to be able to contribute to the process to make sure that we're heard.
Certainly.
Is that kind of where everyone is?
It'll be this fall is what we anticipate. And yeah, it will certainly have to be a public process, most definitely. And I apologize if I wasn't being clear, because I think when I said compress, it actually will end up creating, I think, more opportunity for representation on the district by Sutton Valley, because it's going to open up more of a population base in those two district boundaries that partially straddle Sutton Valley and then elsewhere, because those looks in more in. So there creates a greater potential for somebody that might now live in like Commissioner Obley's district, to that would now shift to where it could be in Commissioner Ford's district, and they could run for that representation there. So it actually, the way I envision it is it will end up creating greater opportunity for Sutton Valley, because there's a larger population base there. Does that make sense?
Hey, Justin?
Yes.
This is Glenn. My camera isn't working tonight for whatever reason. Hey, does that not have to go through the final approval through the Utility and Trade Commission? Does it have to go through them or not?
Yeah, I don't think so. I'd have to go back and, I just read the state statute probably about a month and a half ago, and I don't remember seeing that the UTC has to review it.
Okay, I just wondering.
Any other questions?
No.
Before I try to, okay, Mr. Dobbins?
This is, I think, totally unrelated to everything else. So it's sort of at least a two-part question. You guys recently started that program where you're charging for your customers like per square foot of pavement, something like that. Is that right? An annual fee or something like that?
That's a stormwater fee. That's actually it's a stormwater utility that was created by Whatcom County, not by the district. That we've had that question many times though. So, other question, Ms. Bradley?
I have a question for you. You talked about with Sudden Valley, having these small little areas that are represented by other people. If I'm not mistaken, and you can tell me I'm wrong and correct me, maybe they've changed the thing, but you have to live in that district. So when you have somebody that basically has all of North Shore and maybe Division 30 up here by me in Sudden Valley, if that person's chance of living up here, because there aren't very many of us up in this neck of the woods, that this person's going to represent the North Shore rather than any interest of Sudden Valley. Same way with Geneva. If I think all of the people that are on your board have to be in that district. I know when we vote, if we replace Laura or if we replace Leslie currently, it's two different sections of the valley of whether or not you get to vote on that representative. Am I correct about that?
Correct. Yeah, you have to live within the actual boundary of that commissioner to vote for or run for that office or vote for that commissioner. Correct.
Thank you.
Mr. Cope.
Yeah, thanks first of all for coming in, Justin. I appreciated the presentation as well. Hey, a quick question, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around all this, and my apologies if you've covered this in another way, but you said that there was a potential for more representation to be for Sudden Valley to have representation. What would actuate that potential? Is that so that's in the works right now? You're redrawing the maps.
Yeah, so once we get the census data, then we'll be able to actually look and try to redraw the district boundaries for each commissioner so that they reflect equal or near equal populations.
Great. Well, is that a public process, Justin? Do people comment?
Yeah, it'll be a public process. It'll go through the Board of Commissioners and everything as well. And so, yep.
Great. Hey, thanks.
You bet. Other questions? All right. I will try to address Ms. Alianak's question or comments. So again, I'm going to caveat that I've been here 2 years and the Lake Whatcom Management Program has been around for much longer than that. So a little bit of history that is my understanding of the Lake Whatcom Management Program. Back in 1992, the city of Bellingham, Whatcom County, and what was then Water District 10, now Lake Whatcom Water and Sewer District, adopted a joint resolution as three public agencies operating within the watershed, the Lake Whatcom watershed. They adopted a joint resolution setting policies and goals for protection of the lake. Then in like somewhere around 97 or 98, the lake and its tributaries were actually identified by the state as polluted. And so that prompted the three jurisdictions, again, the city, the county, and the district, to form what's now referred to as the Lake Whatcom Management Program. And they did that through an interlocal agreement as public agencies in the state of Washington can do. Following that in 2000, I think it was the first year that they created a 5-year work plan for how they could jointly collaborate and pool their monies and efforts in working on projects that would improve the lake's water quality. Those three jurisdictions have worked together in that manner in creating, we're now on our 5th 5-year work plan, which was just adopted last year in 2000. So it covers the years of 2000 to 2024. If you get on the Lake Whatcom Management Program website, there's a whole slew of resources. Definitely recommend you guys look at the 2020-2024 work plan, as well as past annual reports for the work that's been done. Along those lines, the three partners in 2000 also formed this interjurisdictional coordinating team, and so that is comprised of staff of the three entities that work together to collaborate on setting setting programs for the partnership. We coordinate efforts like the joint councils meeting that the three entities are involved in. We also coordinate the progress reports, the work plans. We do all kind of the heavy lifting staff effort on developing all those that then go to each of the elected bodies for consideration for adoption. The policy group that Ms. Alinak was referring to, so it was created in 2008, I believe. And that was, the intent of that originally was, and still is to have representation by each of the members' elected bodies. So the city has 2 elected officials, 2 city council members, 2 county council members, and 1 Lake Whatcom Water and Sewer District Board of Commissioner that sit on that policy group. And so the whole intent of the policy group was to keep the elected officials informed of work and progress being done as it relates to the management program, as well as to kind of provide that first touch if there's any sort of policy topics to be discussed, so that they could be informed and then take back to their boards and councils a more informed understanding of what was going on within the program. In 2010, I think it was, the three agencies, city, county, and district, adopted a joint resolution inviting Sudden Valley Community Association to have a representative sit on the policy group. So again, there's the Lake Whatcom Management Program that's comprised of the three public agencies. We've got the ICT, the Interjurisdictional Coordinating Team. We've got the policy group that has also been now, since 2010, had a representative of Sudden Valley invited to be on. And then there's there's the executive team, which is comprised of myself, the mayor, and the county executive. And that's really, we meet fairly infrequently. It's mostly just to check in, see how things are going within the management program, and to prepare for the joint councils meeting. And so, and I've referred to this a couple of times, the joint councils meeting is a meeting of the 3 bodies of the partnership that happens each spring. This year, I believe it's on the evening of March 31st. And so the whole bodies of each of those 3 entities get together and meet. Last year, though, it was, I will say, was canceled due to the pandemic. But it is planned to be virtual this year on March 31st. And Sudden Valley, it's my understanding, has always been invited to attend that as well. And then there's the data group, which is another group that Ms. Alinak referred to. And that is comprised, again, of Lake Whatcom Management Program partnership members, staff. And this is much more on the technical nature. It's where we, so the three parties also, we pool our monies together. We all participate in the aquatic invasive species program that's headed by the city, but that the district finances and the county finances as well. And then there's the tributary monitoring program that the county has taken the leadership role in, with the city and the district providing funds for that. Another program that's been coming and going that the district has taken the lead on is the on-site sewage system or septic system impact assessment, where we took a leadership role and then had financial funding from the other members to do an analysis of the impact of septic systems and the portion of the watershed that isn't sewered. And so the data group gets together, it's staff of those 3 entities to get together with staff from the Institute of Watershed Studies, Western Washington University, who's doing the in-lake monitoring as well. And so we go over the much more technical issues of the lake model for how contaminants move throughout the lake and through the 3 basins of the lake. We review the data of the tributary monitoring program, the OSS program, and then also the, I just lost track of, stormwater projects. The district doesn't necessarily do the stormwater projects, but both the city has been doing stormwater projects within city limits that are located within the lake watershed. And then the county now has been much more aggressive in completing capital projects for water treatment facilities in outside of the city limits. So that's in a nutshell how the Lake Wacom Management Program partnership is formed and kind of operates. Trying to address as far as the concern over conflict of interest. I'm not sure, so I guess Sudden Valley actually has a little bit of a dual representation because there's district commissioner sitting on the policy group, as well as 2 county council members that sit on the policy group. And so I'm struggling a little bit with understanding the nexus for how that would be a conflict of interest, but I'm certainly happy to hear how that might be construed. Look, Ms. Jones.
Well, I think my question sort of outlined it. That basically we have representation who isn't representing us. First of all, that like where does that fall in? But so if you refer back to my question, then it's like, oh, I guess that sort of becomes a conflict of interest. And so I totally appreciate your explaining all of that, but I didn't really get an answer with the data group. I heard all of the technical things. I hear that. We actually have some pretty intelligent people out here in Sudden Valley, and Nancy is one of them. I would just like to let you know that she would be able to handle all that technical information. And I can't see how that doesn't benefit everyone to have representation. It really feels like just no one really cares. And I got to tell you, I know that you're newer in this position, 2 years, so it really isn't fair for all of this to get dumped on you. I'm sorry. And that's about the time we started to get rowdy out here and say we didn't like how things were going, because basically the city, the county, everyone dumps on us and we pay double, right? And so our residents are fired up, and that part of that is our fault, but rightly so. So we need representation. We need our input in on that committee. And I can't see how, just because it's data or technical, that would exclude Sudden Valley. It really feels like that just makes it more important. And that sounds like something that somebody who's worked there 30 years has said over and over and over. And maybe we need a fresh set of eyes, just kind of thinking about that. Yeah, because I mean, that's all I heard is, oh, great, we need that. I mean, because we operate like a town. I know we're not a town. Just think of us as that little pocket town in the corner that, but we still fairly so, we pay a lot of money and we need that. And that, and that's the second thing that I stood outside all summer. Well, not all summer, but like 3 weeks. And it felt like all summer because it was from the afternoon until sundown, getting signatures for a petition to limit dues, because we're paying dues out here. We're paying taxes, and we pay a lot to Lake Wacom Water and Sewer. And it's like, whoa, people are fired up about all of those things, those 3 things. And I don't know if you heard about us, but we'll stand outside with signs. So if you want to take that message back, I don't want to shoot the messenger at all.
I appreciate that. I very much appreciate your frustration. I have a background I was a city manager in a small city down in Southwest Washington for about 8 years, and fully understand the challenges that you guys face, because you really truly are a city, but you don't enjoy the revenue streams that a city enjoys, be it property tax, sales tax, and all those other things that can fund municipal type services that you guys are funding. And I that's the challenge of that, I fully understand the county's collecting those property taxes and things and not having to maintain your roads. You're having to pay for that on your own backs. And the only revenue stream that you guys are afforded is essentially through dues. And so that's a very, very tough situation to be in. I fully understand that. Mrs. Holland? Oh,
yes, thank you.
I was sorry. I was just going to add, the only thing we're asking for is representation at this time. Okay, go ahead. Noelle, sorry.
Well, you're talking about, like we have 2 representatives, but they're commissioners for Water District 10. And you talked about, invasive species, and like we've got a good sized marina. I want to say that we're the only actual marina aside from maybe Wildwood on Lake Whatcom. And we've got a lot of boats coming in and out of there. And so, you know, Nancy would be a good representative for that portion because that our commissioners don't cover that. And we've got a major, one of the larger creeks, like Austin Creek flowing into Lake Whatcom. And we've got multiple homes that are on the tributaries to that, and we're very densely populated. And to not have Nancy on the
Data group.
part that she wants to be on, you know, it doesn't make sense to me that we don't have representation for that.
Yeah, I will certainly bring that back to the management program and try to figure out how that might be accommodated. So
I really think it should be, because I mean, there's no reason not to. We're densely populated. We've got, you know, you said we are 60% of District 10's, I don't know, consumers. And we've got a common interest in, you know, shoot. I lost my stem.
I think we all want to protect the lake and
exactly. Yes. We all have a common interest in it because we draw water off it, but also we live on it. So why not have somebody who has the knowledge and wants to do the job?
Thank you. Any other questions?
I think Nancy has her hand up in the audience. May let John just bring her over here quick if she wants to say one thing.
Sure. I'll go ahead and bring Nancy on over.
That would definitely cut out the middleman.
Nancy, I've gone ahead and added you to the meeting.
Thank you. I just wanted to remind Mr. Clary of the resolution, the joint resolution that allowed Sudden Valley into the Lake Whatcom Policy Group was 2014. And in fact, the Water and Sewer District approved it on April 7th, 2014. And there's one line in it that I believe gives Sudden Valley the right to be on that data management team. And I'll read it to you. The Sudden Valley Community Association is currently participating in staff team work sessions and has been a long-term participant in activities needed to protect the lake. It's the line about currently participating in staff team work sessions. And if I look at the 2015, 2020, I believe it is, work plan, you find on the interjurisdictional coordinating team on the front portion of the document, the work plan document, that indeed Sudden Valley Community Association is listed as participating. The gentleman's name was Anthony Cavender, which some of the old timers will recognize. So we've clearly been participating in work teams. And my issue is what makes the data team special? That it's an exceptional work team that we're not allowed on, since we're clearly allowed on at least one other. And if I look harder, I can probably find more. I can't find anything. The interlocal agreements are mostly about money. They're not about who does what work. It's who pays for what. And you mentioned your 1997 interlocal. I'd love a copy of it. those things are hard to find online because there are so many of them nibbling at bits and pieces of projects. So if you've got one you're going to as the founder, I'd love to see what you think is the foundation, what is the source. And yeah, I've looked at all that stuff and a lot of stuff endlessly, but I keep coming back to the 2014 joint resolution between the 4 entities and that phrase that is currently participating in staff team work sessions.
Yeah, I will certainly bring that to the rest of the group's attention for sure. Thank you for pointing that out. And I will also try to track down that 97 interlocal agreement. I think, let's see, you participated in the the Whatcom County Stormwater Utility Advisory Committee way back when.
I did.
I should be able to track down your email address from that. So I will try to find that and email that over to you.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think, just so everyone's clear, I don't think Justin can answer all of these questions right here in this meeting. They're not even necessarily questions that he's probably the one that makes any decisions on. So we'll package up all of our thoughts, and kind of be in touch, with you guys through Nancy.
Great.
And I think John said Glenn has his hand up. Glenn, you got?
Yep. Yeah, I do. Justin, I'll work with Justin to get all your questions. So send them to me and then I'll get them to Justin and he and I will work on getting everything back to you guys as soon as we can.
Great. Well, thank you very much for having me this evening. Very nice to meet most of you. And definitely, should you ever have any questions regarding water or sewer service, do not hesitate to give us a call, okay?
Thank you. And thank you for a hard presentation. Sorry about that, Mr. Clary.
Oh, that's what I'm here for. So thank you.
Okay, great.
Have a good evening. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nancy, I'll go ahead and return you to the attendees at this time as well.
Oh, I thought I was.
Thank you.
All right. So that ends our presentation from Lake Whatcom Water and Sewer, and I'll pass it over to Glenn now for General Manager's update.
Thank you. Not sure how I follow that, but thank you. So I have a few things. One, as you know, we traditionally have had a manager's report. Since it is the manager's report, I'm taking the initiative to, Laura and I and Oryx are working on revamping that to make it a little more up to date and a little more appealing to read on a regular basis. So we're going to roll that out on March 25th. So I just wanted to give you a heads up that that's being worked on. That's why I'm doing it verbally right now. Wanted to kind of give you a brief update on the snow, a little debrief on that. Yesterday, the maintenance staff and I completed a debrief. So we talked about what we did well and what we didn't. They focused on what they didn't, but as you all know, they did a pretty good job. So I wanted to highlight a couple of things that we noted. One, there were no staff injuries. There were no major vehicle breakdowns or tows or getting stuck. So those are all real positives. We had no major incidents or accidents within our roads, which is also an amazing standard that they kept. Those are the things that I look at when we're doing performance measurement of a snow fight. And those are the three key ones. Of course, we look at what our costs were, and we're still wrapping those up, and we'll do a after action report that'll be included in the next manager's report. I may have something separate at the next meeting, but I'll for sure, Jacob's working on getting me all the numbers, updated numbers. And then we also, during that storm, we had a baby born in our area, and that's how they got out, was because we made sure their road was clear, and they called us in advance. So that was a fun story to know. And I was telling them that in my past, one of the cities I worked with, we had a major storm and we had 3 babies born. And even today in that city, those 3 babies' pictures are still hanging on the bulletin board to remind them of what they did. So we're asking for a picture of that baby, and that'll be on their bulletin board. So, so again, tremendous job by our team. I also, we recognize them, and I have to recognize Rachel and Oryx both. They were making sure the website was updated all weekend and did a great job staying engaged and keeping everyone informed. The third thing is more of a technical issue on, I believe, I'm not sure what the date was, but in 2020, the board approved a policy for off-site compensatory mitigation, so that the general manager could approve if someone purchased property, so because they needed to do stormwater or some mitigation on their property and it wouldn't fit because our lots are smaller and they're putting bigger houses on, they could buy another piece of property and mitigate through the county on that site. So the board had approved a process to do that, and that process gives me the authority to sign off on it, but I'm required to report out to you that that I'm going to do that. And there's looking for the address. There's a Randall Renders, and I lost the address. I don't have it in front of me, but and I will send this in an email.
It's on Western Lane.
That's it. That's it. I can always count on you to come up with the the number. But he's been working on this process for over 2 years, and he's completed everything we've needed him to do. All the paperwork's in order. So I'm going to sign off on it and approve that he do that. The county has approved on that it is valid. So yes.
I have questions about where the remediation is going to happen.
Yeah, I have all that. He has the site that he purchased. It's all within the paperwork. And
Is it on Sudden Valley property? Because, you know, when I was looking at the whole wetland outline and everything, a lot of it is on property that's not even Sudden Valley property.
Yes, he purchased it. He purchased a separate piece to do this on.
Outside of Sudden Valley?
Correct. Well, no, it's in Sudden Valley. It's within Sudden Valley boundaries, but we don't own it. That's my understanding. I'll go back and double check.
Okay.
My understanding of the policy was that they are unable to do the mitigation on the lot they intend to build their home due to space constraints.
Correct.
And so Joe worked with Richard and legal to draft the policy that would allow them to pay 2 years of dues up front on this secondary lot that would then be taken off the rolls once those 2 years are paid, and they'd be allowed to do their wetland mitigation on that secondary lot to compensate for their impacts on the other lot. It's a fairly common.
My question is it a Sudden Valley lot, or is it part of the Stimson Reserve, which we back up against?
Neither. They own both lots. So they own 2 lots, one to do mitigation and one to do their house building.
Where's the mitigation? My question is, where's the mitigation happening?
On a second lot that he owns.
Which is?
Noel wants to know where the lot is. Is it inside Sudden Valley limits?
And I don't have that in front of me, but I'd be glad to get there.
I would love to see it.
Okay. I have a map of it and everything, so I'd be glad to send you a copy of everything.
Thank you.
Actually, I have it on email. I'll forward it to you when
That'd be awesome.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
So, but like I said, he's met all the criteria. It's been reviewed by legal. It's been everything that he needed to do to meet the letter of the law and the policy he has done. So I will be signing that off and moving that forward. And of course, Noel, I will send that to you. That's all I have tonight for the update. Thank you. Any questions I'm open to questions, of course.
Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you, Glenn. And also, yeah, I wanted to throw in that not only did Oryx and Rachel keep everyone informed, but thank you for keeping all of us informed. It really lowered my anxiety about snow. So thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, any other questions for Glenn? Okay, we will move on. I will hand the floor over to Linda for any stuff.
Just that we had our meeting, usually we have our meeting after you, but we had it before this year because of this month, because it's a short month. And our minutes from 1/25/21 are as posted. And at our meeting this month, we approved a new committee member, Lori Sampson. So we are now 5 and we are whole. And I wanted to know, we did the vote, sent them the information on Lori. Lori served on the finance committee last year. And so she understands how committees work and everything. And I'm really excited to have a full committee. And that's all I have.
All right. Well, welcome, Lori, and thank you for volunteering. All right, we'll move on to continuing business. And so as everyone's aware, we have our first strategic planning workshop this Sunday at 10 a.m. And so mostly this discussion tonight is just to kind of outline a few things, mostly for the community's benefit. So they can kind of understand what we're working on and how that will kind of tailor into bundling all that information up and giving it to the community and receiving input and feedback from them. So we're working, and tomorrow we'll have posted on our website the package that all of the planning team members have received for the strategic planning workshop. Our intention is to have that all available to the community so they can kind of follow along through the process. Will be a little bit different than our normal online meetings to be able to utilize all the functionality of Zoom through these various strategic planning workshops, like breakout rooms, there's whiteboard features, and various things like that that we'll utilize throughout these meetings. We can't use our normal traditional Zoom format that we use here tonight with the panelists and attendees. So we'll just have kind of our usual, I think it'll be similar to our closed session Zoom that we use, or something like along those lines, where we're all just in one group basically. So the way the community will be able to participate would be through our YouTube channel. We'll be streaming the main workshop, through Zoom onto the YouTube channel, kind of like how we do here now. There just will not be a Zoom link for the community to come into the Zoom meeting like they're normally used to. For everyone on the planning team, your binders are ready. So you can swing by and pick those up tomorrow at the office. There's a few people who are unable to get there. I'm willing to drop off some binders if people need them. I've gotten a couple people to email me so far. So I'm going to pick up mine on my way home from work tomorrow. If you need any assistance in that regards, just email me and let me know. And let's see, have anything else? yeah, the meeting will all be posted tomorrow, and there's some in your board or in the binders, there's some pre-worksheets that it would be good for everyone to review them and go through them, get some of your thoughts down on paper before we begin the meeting would be very effective for helping us utilize our time best. And yeah, mostly the focus of our first meeting is going to be developing and reviewing and establishing new core values for our community, and then reviewing and revising as needed our mission and vision statements. Those are going to be the main priorities at this point. And then with the next workshop, after we do some facilities tours and things like that, we will start to discuss the various planning elements of our community plan that we have, and we'll start to establish policies, priorities, and goals for each of those. And as we kind of wrap up all of those things, we will package all of that stuff up, and we will plan a town hall event for the community to participate in the planning process as like the first step. Typically, there'll be a number of iterations of kind of public meetings, public comment periods. There's obviously, the bylaws require long range planning to do an annual survey. So we'll be looking to establish that further and get that going again next year. And I feel like I'm rambling a little bit at this point. So I'm going to kind of wrap it up there and then open the floor to any questions that anybody may have at this point. Linda?
Do we have any information on the site visits we talked about? I'm asking because Glenn's here and I don't know if you guys have made any arrangements or we're still working on that.
We've started to put some of that together. We'll go over it more in the first meeting, and
Okay.
some of it will be dependent upon when we set our second date for our second meeting, but Glenn has a few dates in mind. We'll kind of have to set that as a group, but we're looking at maybe 2 different dates, a daytime tour. So staff is, working during working hours for those, who can do that time slot, and then a weekend tour for people who are, working full time during the days.
You'll see, AJ, in the packet, in your binder, there's a kind of a tentative schedule. We can change the dates, but I just broke it up so we could do small groups. And it talks about where you'd go and who would be your tour guide, just so you guys can have a place to start and talk about it. But it's in there.
Yeah, it'll probably, I think the way it got set up is like 2 groups each day. One group will start at Area Z, one kind of in the rec corridor, clubhouse area, and then switch.
Yep.
So yeah, I think, this is a big step for our community, and building a comprehensive plan is, going to help stabilize and create a sustainable path forward for everyone. And it'll be, the process that we've outlined is utilizing the same process as the Growth Management Act and how our local jurisdictions have to develop comprehensive plans. So it's a very bottom up, member driven process, that kind of starts with the board and staff kind of putting some stuff together, and then, bringing it to the community for, thorough review. So yeah, I think everyone here is excited to get moving, and I know the Long Range Planning Committee's put quite a lot of effort to get us to this point already. And we have a number of people who have on the board currently who've helped with that effort in long range planning. And so, yeah, I will be done talking at this point. And is there any, I'll just leave it if there's any other questions. All right. Well, I look forward to seeing everyone's bright and smiling faces on Sunday morning.
10 a.m.
Okay, so moving on to new business, I will hand it over to Glenn here for the.
Right. So we're gonna start with the Recreation Center opening plan as requested by the board, and more importantly, the members, and they've been interested in how we're gonna reopen this and when we can for some time. I know you all have heard from members, and so have I. So we put a plan together, and I'm gonna hand it off to Recreation Manager Sam Bernhardt to walk us through the details. Sam?
Hi, everyone. There we go.
Hey.
Hi.
I'm going to start off with the schedule we have right now to reopen the community center. So for March 15th, we want to have the barn and fitness center open at 25% capacity. We're going to start with the barn for gatherings and events. And I'm currently working on restaffing the community center right now with COVID-19 gym attendance and new staff since the furloughed employees were laid off last year. So also on prior to March 15th, we want to get clubs and activities going downstairs in the smaller rooms at the community center as well. Right now, we are currently not staffed, but it's going to be staffed in the coming weeks. So we're ready for March 15th. We have time slots for the fitness center. So people are going to have to make reservations ahead of time to come into the fitness center, and there will be 45-minute windows where you can get workouts in, and then we'll have 15-minute windows in between that to clean and sanitize with pre and closing procedures that follow phase 2 protocols. So like I said, the new position, the COVID-19 gym attendant will be in the fitness center, making sure people are following the rules of phase 2 Washington state protocols. Like I said, we've been trying to get the fitness center or the community center staffed again before we can reopen. So I've been working on that every day, just having interviews and trying to get restaffed. Like I said, the sanitation plan is to have it at 15-minute cleaning periods in between each 45-minute time slot for the window to work out in the fitness center. We'll have a occupant load of, according to the 50 square feet per person rule in phase 2, there's 2,224 square feet in the gymnasium. So we'll be able to have 44 people total, but at a maximum capacity. So for 25% of that 44 people, that brings it to around 11 people in the fitness center and 3 people in the daycare. And so that's not including the COVID-19 gym attendance. And then you'll see that the schedules in your packet on the back of the memo. You'll see the gym schedule, so people will be able to call in and reserve time slots so we don't go over the occupancy load within that. And we plan to reopen instructor-led classes 2 weeks after March 15th on March 29th. I've been speaking to the instructors and leaders of the classes and getting a feel for what they want to do and come back. And the general sense is that they want to come back, but they want to be safe. Like I talked to Susan, who does the dance blast class, and she wants to get vaccinated before she comes back, which is really important to her because a lot of her members are the higher risk category for COVID-19. So we want to do that on March 29th is when we bring clubs and classes back. And then by March 30th, have the rec center fully open and operational again. That's kind of the tentative plan for reopening the rec center. Yeah. Kimberly.
Hi, Sam. Welcome. I saw your article in the Views. Welcome to Seton Valley. I had a question about your gym schedule, and I was curious as what days a week. Is this 7 days a week, or is this Monday through Friday? That's not stated anywhere.
So we're gonna have it staffed fully 7 days a week, so people can come in every day.
Okay. And then my other concern was the schedule. I know COVID's making things difficult, but it appears that the hours are only during the day, which appeals to doesn't appeal to people that do work during those hours. Has there been any consideration of alternating the shifts to try to accommodate an early morning opening or an evening opening for those folks who work from 9 to 5?
That's actually a really good point. Something to definitely think about. It hasn't been considered for me personally yet.
I can take that one, Sam.
Yeah, take that one.
Yeah, we have definitely talked about it. It just comes down to, Sam's talking about staffing. So we're just trying to get staffed up correctly. Once we get them up, and we're not going to have everybody come back that was here before us that was trained. So we're going to have to do some training. So once we get the trained up, and then we hear from one of the things that we've talked about that I haven't talked to Sam about yet is having our folks tell us when they want us to be open. And then we'll see if we can staff it correctly. But our key thing is to get our staff trained and make sure we're operating correctly, get all those bugs worked out, and then we'll move to a more flexible schedule.
Sure, yeah, because I'm not going to go back to any gyms anytime soon because of COVID, but I was a user of the gym during off hours, and I would get there at 5 and 6 a.m. in the morning, and there were people in there, and then there were people there in the evenings. So I just want to make sure that we are creating an opening schedule that is inclusive to all work lifestyles and not just focused during the day heavily like this appears, which appeals to people that don't work during the day and maybe work at night. So I want to see a schedule that works for the entire community. And I think this opening one is only focused on one aspect, particularly since everyone's paying. It would be nice that everyone would have access, even for the opening. That's it for me.
I have a question.
Yes, Linda.
I have a question. So on the one gym schedule on page 8, it says staff arrives between 9:30 and 10 for opening procedures. And the first slot starts at 10 to 10:45. And on the next page, and you just may want to clean this up, where it gives the daily rate, it's like, it says front desk 10:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. But on the other schedule, it says the first time period is at 10 a.m. And you may want to look at that. I think I have the same concerns that Kim does. I know there's lots of people that have off hours. I understand your challenge. And Glenn, I understand that, at first you want to be able to just see if you can get a staff in there that can even make this work. To me, 11 people in the gym at one time seems like a lot of people, but we'll see what you get, and hopefully some people that are early morning people can maybe somehow at least take advantage of Saturdays and Sundays. And maybe if people are making reservations, you could somehow, until you can expand your hours, if there's a way to fill those openings with people that would normally be working Monday through Friday. And I know that's a lot of work, but that's at least maybe one idea for trying to fit everybody in.
Yeah, it's all about customer service.
Yeah.
And with COVID, it just brings in the safety component that we have to be, I would say even at sometimes overly cautious. And that's
Yeah.
kind of where we're starting.
I have
That's-
one more question for Sam. He said that the community center was going to be fully open. And I know you stated the occupancy for the gym. What about that main room and the main doors there where you come in and a lot of people sit and watch TV, read books, do puzzles, that sort of thing? So do you have occupancy rates for each one of the areas in the community center?
So it's combined with, I think 14 people total is like I think complete maxed out occupancy for 25% of the fire code.
And that's for the whole community center or just the gym?
that's the whole thing.
The whole building. Okay, I got
And
you.
we have to do it that way, but yes.
I got you. Move those treadmills out into the main part of the,
Right.
part of the community center.
People in that gym is too many with COVID. I mean, in that gym is small. I mean, honestly, I would like not let more than 6 in there. It is super small and people are on top of each other. It's Brian,
I mean, I was going to say, I don't think I've ever seen 11 people in that gym before.
And I wouldn't want to be in there with you.
Yeah.
Again, we're going to have to be able to staff it, and we're going to meet the criteria. So we'll double check the numbers. And also,
sorry. Oh, I was just gonna say that the 50 square feet knocks that out of the ballpark. That's gonna trump the God, I hate that word now because it's a person's name. That's so weird. So that's gonna come above the whole, numbers, because I mean there's a few criteria that you have to meet. So I'm pretty sure that, and there's also a web page. I'm sure you guys are using the Safe Start Washington web page. I have confidence they'll be able to get it. And I just want to remind everyone that it's just opening. We just got the okay. We just got our plan in place. Please be patient. Please give us feedback.
By the way, welcome, Sam. Welcome to Sun Valley.
Thanks.
Yeah,
everyone.
welcome,
To have you
Sam.
aboard.
Yeah, everyone's been super kind to me in my first 2 weeks, so thank you.
Oh, good. For those that don't know, Sam is our new recreation manager. Thank you.
all right, great points, and we'll definitely take that all into consideration as we get ready to open.
Any other questions? Do we need to actually make a motion to do? I don't know that we actually need a motion to approve this, do we?
No, not unless you wanted to change anything or add something. We're going to plan to open it if you wanted us to change the date or you wanted to give us direction, but you've given us direction that we don't need an emotion. So.
Okay. Well, I'll keep it on Glenn's table then and go on to the next thing.
All right. So I believe the next thing is the contract, correct? Yes. So we put together, when AJ and I started meeting, we talked a lot about, and I know even when we did interviews, you guys talked a lot about the contract process. So what we did is we put together a list. It is a draft list because, as with many of our records, there are things spread all over the place. And with the turnover, we've had to make sure that we're capturing everything. So we put it in draft because we may have missed one or two. But and some of the data may need to be updated. But these are all, this 2-page list is all of our contracts that are active. So I wanted to highlight a couple of things that that are not necessarily best practice that we'll be looking into. Number one, it's best practice to go no longer than 3 years on a contract before you rebid it so that you can make sure you're getting the best value and the best dollar amount. And normally terms change in those 3 years. You have different factors that come in. So we have a number of them that don't have end dates. You'll see a number of them just go on, and we have a number of them that are at 5, 6, 7 years, and we're going to go about scheduling which ones we will start to redo. So that's something. One of the other things is we do not have a standard contract form. So when you look at all these contracts, they're done in almost as many different formats. And so we're working on standardizing that. You will see a contract come forward in, I believe on the 11th for tree service, maybe the 25th. And that will be our first standard contract. So you'll see it what you see there will be look what we normally do. That's also being vetted by our legal team to make sure we capture all the new regulations within the contracting. So I'm going to take questions in a minute, but I wanted to highlight too that I had put the contract policy in here and the purchasing policy. And one of the things I put in a motion is that I believe these are need to be updated and be much more specific about how staff needs to do contracts and what the purchasing policy. I know we have the 2,503 bids, and that's a great start, but we have a lot more detail that should be put into our contracting process, including standard forms, standard processes. And I'll be drafting up I'll be instituting a policy. I already have it drafted that staff will start doing the contracts all the same way. So again, for consistency, it also gets us better bids. When we do a really nice clean bid request, the contractors and consultants can give us a really nice clean bid because we're specific. And then we'll do some training around that. But I did put a motion, and I'm requesting a motion tonight to be able to send these two documents. I believe they're two of the most important ones we have right now that we need to deal with, to be able to send to the document review committee to start working with them to rewrite these and get much more specific and a clean process in place. So we don't have to worry, regardless of staff turnover, regardless of what's going on, what contract, whether it's emergency or not, we're following the same policies and processes to make it clean. So staff don't have to worry about if we're doing it right or not. So with that, I'll take any questions specific about any of the contracts or any of the policy or anything in that vein.
Linda?
I guess something I'd like to see that's kind of confusing. I don't think it's all our contracts, but maybe it is. I will send you, I have 2 or 3 that I found in the GL that I sent part of my questions about back in October that you're still going to get back with me. There's it's live view, it's GPS tracking on our trucks. That's around $6,000 a year that I don't see that in there anywhere, the live view. Yeah. There's actually that other accruant it's for like $9,200 some dollars that I don't see that in there or what it's for. And also the maintenance connection software that I believe is a contract. There's just, if you want, I can send you an email that spells those out. The other thing is some of these contracts, I wish we could separate them into whether they are expenses or whether they're revenue. Some of these contracts are revenue to us rather than expenses. And if we're going to start tracking them and looking at expenses and stuff for the upcoming budget, it'd be nice to have them broken out into whether they're revenue or expenses.
Yeah, that's a very good point. We will do that. And on those three, we've already added, I think all three of them. That's why we called it a draft, but please send me that, Linda.
I will.
So, okay, thank you.
Yeah, we also include the contract with Robert Half as well. Kim.
Okay.
And then Josh.
Mine is real quick. Glenn, I really appreciate the work that you're doing in standardizing the contracts and having it so that, we have start dates and end dates and getting us a draft of the existing contracts. I just had one small comment on the language, page 13, for the additional considerations for the SVCA contract policy. Just the last sentence says the board should consider a contract template for SVCA to be provided. Then it names a specific person. I just felt like maybe that should say an attorney.
That was our old legal counsel, Kim.
Okay.
And that should not be written in a policy.
Right. It's yeah. I was like, really? This
partly why we need to fix it.
Yes, absolutely.
Just making it an attorney, so it's generic, and that was just something that stuck out to me.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, Sharp and Circa, I think, was our legal counsel before Richard and his company. Josh?
Yeah, Glenn, on the, Linda sort of mentioned this too about how the revenue and the contracts are mixed up here. On the Linden Tribune, it has the views, editing, and printing. Is that after subtracting the ad revenue, or are we going to have the ad revenue added to this sheet, or how does that work with them?
I believe this is just the expense side, and we would have to add the revenue.
Okay, thank you.
When I'm looking at it, but we'll verify that. But yeah, I think that's the way.
Okay.
I will say, go ahead, Justin.
Yeah, I look forward to taking this on and my committee finally getting something to do here for sure. I mean,
this won't be the last.
Be careful
well, it
what
has
you
to
wish
survive
for.
the vote first, Justin.
I went through these, and I mean, besides spelling and grammar issues, I think there's certainly some legal issues that we'll have to put through our attorneys as well. And Glenn, I look forward to your input as well with your experience with common practices with dealing with municipalities and this kind of stuff and contracting.
Sure thing.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing this to us. Yeah.
Well,
just to clarify for the community's sake too, the two policies attached after the memo are existing policies that we've had on the books. You can tell the contract policies from 2005, quite old, quite dated, some language in it that's, usually not included in policies. The purchasing policies 2017, so a bit more recent, obviously been reviewed. But that's still, this type of stuff typically warrants a review every, few years at least by the board. One of the things that this is kind of a beginning point for document review is, we're going to be wanting to put together a board policy manual, something that, and it's kind of discussed a little bit in the memo that Glenn put together, but I think that's something that's going to help our community understand the board's function best. And then it'll aid, as you four new members know, coming in, there's not a lot of documentation in one little capsule for everyone to kind of get themselves up to speed. It's like, oh, here's this link and this link and this link, and then this is over there. And then, here, all this information in an email. So building a collaborative document that we review, regularly, that encompasses, we start here with our financial policies, obviously, but we'll get into all the various aspects, and we can build a common policy format so they're all structured the same, they all look the same, they're easy to follow, they're easy to understand, the language is clear and concise, things like that. The document review committee may need to, discuss with some people some best practices for certain things, and staff and finance committee and audit committee could support them in any functions they may need. If they want some recommendations on specific numbers, that would be the threshold for capital purchases or things like that. Yeah, so I just kind of wanted to outline that, and I know it's something this board's talked about, with the board orientation being in January. We've talked about moving that significantly closer to the AGM. I've discussed with, Glenn and staff having that as a component of the application for people who submit to run for the board, that they commit to the day after the AGM having their orientation that day, so that they can be brought up to speed in a more expedited manner, as we are not all necessarily professionals, in all these different capacities. And so in a board orientation or a board policy manual would go right in line with that. You can give that to them as part of that board orientation, or as soon as they apply to be a board member for that matter. And, it can help them understand significantly better and prepare themselves better to hit the ground running, right away in November as opposed to January. I guess I would make the motion. I gotta get it. I move that the contracting and purchasing policy be sent to the document review committee for further review as part of a comprehensive financial policy evaluation process.
Second.
Or any further discussion that anyone has? All right. All those in favor of the motion to move the contracting and purchasing to refer the contracting and purchasing policy to be sent to the document review committee for further review as part of a comprehensive financial policy evaluation process. All those in favor? Any opposed? So it passes unanimously. All right. Well, Justin and Joel, we look forward, and Nancy and Sonia are part of that as well. So we look forward to working with you guys on that. And in that sentence, we will be able to move on to the next thing, and I will hand it again back over to Glenn for some capital requests.
Okay, thank you. And Justin, you and we can get together and start talking about schedule here in the next week or so. I have 2 capital requests. I'll go over one at a time and talk about them. And we did take both of these to the finance committee last week. The first one is the 2021 roads repairs. So one of the things that we've done, and AJ and I worked on this together, is to start talk about being able to break down capital projects into more bite-sized parts so that we come back through the process a couple of times to make sure that the accountability is there for staff and the clarity and transparency is there for the board and for the community. So this first one, we originally, when I took it to the finance committee, it was for $10,000 because I was waiting on an estimate from the engineer. And this is just for us to do the planning part of the process for the road repairs. And so the finance committee, we gave the number, and I was able to present the number that P&W had, which is also included in your packet. had given us to be able to make sure they get this work done. And so the exact figure is $5,543. That's what it'll take to get us planned. We will bring back the second phase once they get it all planned and get us an estimate and a construction number. We'll bring that back through the process to get approved. And then if there was any change orders, which I wouldn't anticipate any on this, we would bring those back through the process as well. And I wanted to reassure everybody that we're, I talked to P&W and they said we're well within our timeline. They'll be able to get the work done easily and make sure we get these projects done this year. This is the first phase of it. And with that, I'll take any questions on this one.
Before you go, Linda, I just kind of want to say one thing quick. You know, I talked with Glenn and I thought it was important. You know, the community has basically been pretty outspoken as long as I've lived here that roads are a necessity. We need to maintain our roads. The opportunity cost, you know, with all the transition going on of losing out on a year of doing road work, you know, is something we need to consider. And so I did ask Glenn to try to make it one of his priorities this year to get a road project done. The goal of the road project is to try to deal with some of those roads that are in the worst shape that we have. You know, I know some of you live on some steep hills and have some roads that are delaminating. I know we've gotten, you know, plenty of emails from the community, you know, this year and last year, and I'm sure the previous boards, you know, over potholes or pavement issues, things like that. So in order for us to get a plan where we're overlaying our roads on a regular schedule, basically, we do have to fix some of these more major, you know, asphalt issues, whether that's, you know, large patches of alligator cracking, you know, where we're going to need to mill out the existing pavement, fix a subgrade, repave, so that when we come over with an overlay, we're paving, you know, a road that's not going to, our overlay is not going to fail on top of it. And so that's kind of the main process with this. You know, I know we did some pothole repairs with Joe as well. But I do not believe that focused so much on pavement delamination issues or the alligator cracking issues. It was largely a pothole filling exercise. And there's still some other larger issues that need to be dealt with. I can think of, I believe it was Cascade Lane that was originally on the micro seal schedule when we were doing that 2 years ago, or is it 2 or 3 years ago? Can't remember now, but the contractor basically said they wouldn't do it because it was in such rough shape that their product wasn't gonna, you know, it's not gonna stick. It's not gonna be useful. You're basically wasting your money. You know, so like those types of things we have to get fixed before we can, you know, really get a regularly scheduled program in place. And so, yeah, I will leave it at that. And I saw Linda's hand.
Okay, here it comes. Get ready. Got the next 20 minutes. So
No.
some of these questions are going to be for you,
No,
AJ.
make it quick.
When I look at P&W's bid, all it says is 2021 pothole repairs evaluation. Okay. What I hear you saying, AJ, is that you're not just talking potholes, you're talking that there may be some roads that need maybe the pot, you know, dug up in a whole little section completely redone. You and I both know that in the reserve study, there's 2 separate sections. One's for the road resurfacing and one is for potholes. And I'm trying to figure out exactly which account are we talking about this coming out of? Because if it's the big one for resurfacing, we're all good with that. But I'm saying if you look at P&W's bid, it's definitely 2021 pothole repairs. Next, his pricing on that is for $5,643, and the capital request says $505,543. So there's a difference of $100 there. And last, the request says that it wants to request that amount from the roads capital fund for on-call engineering services. It should just be for engineering services. Don't we have another whole request for on-call engineering?
Yes, you do.
So we just simply should say that the request is from the Capital Roads Fund for engineering services to support the capital improvement program, correct?
Correct. It's just me using the incorrect vernacular.
That's okay. I'm just saying, I'm just trying to be accurate, because otherwise, if you turn it in, all of a sudden we're going to have costs coming out of on-call engineering that maybe should belong in the roads program. And then the other question I have for AJ is, where's this 5,600 supposed to come out of? The overlay program or the pothole repair? Because there's only around 15K, I think, in the pothole program, in that for 2021. And then there's a whole big chunk of change in, I know it's for over 500,000 for the overlay program.
And I can take both of those. So your first question was on the so on the dollar figure, you listed a number of questions, so I want to make sure I get back to the first one.
Yep.
On the dollar figure, we would take it out of the bigger version, and the why is because this is basically overlay prep, as AJ said.
Okay.
So, and I think your first question was, is it just pothole repair? And the answer is no. He put it that way, but what I asked him to do was to drive every road, identify every major problem, and then if we feel like we don't want to do it all, or the money's too high at this point, he and I will work to prioritize it and give it a ranking, and they'll give it a ranking of
Okay.
1 or 3. And you'll see that when we do the next request, but a great question.
Okay, that works. It's just confusing when PNW says one thing and then we talk about it and it kind of says something. That's all.
He
Yes.
wrote
Just wanna
he
make
wrote
sure you know.
2021 road repairs as well. It looks like he used two different name, like in the regarding part said pothole, but then in his table it says road repairs. So I think he just
It's just
didn't quite get that invoice or estimate edited very well.
Okay, I'm good with it. That's just, those are the things you notice when you look at this stuff.
All right. And
All
you're
right.
correct. The right number is 5643, not 55.
Yeah, we'll make sure to use that in the motion then. And just one other clarification to the on-call engineering thing. And I had actually talked with Glenn a little bit. It's a little bit confusing because Tyler is actually hired with us on an on-call contract. And so all of his invoices come in and they say on-call engineering because it's an on-call contract. But then there's this actual project called that we call on-call engineering, and this is good for the community to hear as well. And that's the next capital request. And that is, we'll get into that next, but it's for emergency issues. So that kind of clarifies that a little bit for everybody.
And I think that also goes with, to your point, Linda, that goes with us starting to clean up these contract languages so we can start using the same words, both our contractors and us.
I think it's important because if you look at some of the general ledger stuff, it's all this on-call stuff, and some of it, if it goes with a project like this road repairs, it really isn't on call. It should just simply say that it's an engineering cost.
Correct. Agreed.
And that's partly too when we get a more established capital program that outlines like specific projects and their limits and everything like that. And it doesn't just say main roads being paved, because nobody knows what that means. And that's subjective for anybody to decide what it actually means. The county tells you what they're paving. We're paving Northwest Drive from city limits of Bellingham to I-5, and we're turning down Slater and doing that too. We'll tell you exactly where we're doing our projects and our project limits, and our community deserves those things too. They want to see, like, when's my road gonna, theoretically get touched? Those plans are always fluctuating a bit and in motion, but it gives people at least that sense that, like, oh, there's my road in, oh, it's 10 years from now, but my road's in pretty good shape, so that's probably fine, or, oh, it's 10 years from now and man, our road's in bad shape. I better email the board or the general manager and see, and let them know. You can help us get better feedback too on our program. All right. Well, I guess we can make the motion then, and if there's any other discussion, we can continue on. I'll move to approve the capital request for the 2021 road repairs program in the amount of $5,643 to be expended from the roads fund.
Second.
Anybody have any other questions? All right. Just stated, so I'm not going to repeat it for you guys again. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Looks like unanimous in favor. All right. So we will get moving on that. And thank you, Glenn. And I will give it back to Glenn for the next capital plan.
Okay, thank you all. This capital request, as AJ started to talk about, is for on-call engineering. Now, traditionally, even though that wasn't necessarily the meaning of it, it has been used to start capital projects like the roads one we just talked about. And so we're going to clean that up because it causes confusion as you move forward through the process, as Linda has talked about. So this is only going to be for issues that we don't have planned, that we have no idea coming. Example of the slide is a great example of why we have this sort of money. We never know what damage comes from snow and then water and all that. So because it comes out of the roads, that could be stormwater included in it. So it could be a combination thereof. But that's the only reason that this will be used for. And some years we're going to use it. Some years we're going to use it all. Some years we're going to use none of it. But it's important that we ask for it. I put it at 30 because I know these projects, it starts to add up really quick when it's an emergency and you're getting somebody out on an engineer out to look on things at a moment's notice. I think in general, a garden variety emergency, we could probably start up 2 of them with this amount, being a bigger type issue. Because if it isn't that big, then we probably are learning about it and able to anticipate, and it wouldn't be emergency. So that's really all this is for, is to be able to give me a flexibility to be able to respond to those things immediately and protect our property and our right of way, and also the members' property. So with that, I'll take questions.
Any discussion? All right, well, there's no major discussion right off the bat. We'll just do the motion. I move to approve the capital request for the 2021 roads repairs program for on-call roads engineering services in the amount of $30,000 to be expended from the roads fund.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All right, we'll call the question. The motion as just stated. Steffi?
Oh, no, I was raising my hand. I thought we
Oh.
were going to be quicker. Sorry.
Okay. All those in favor? Any opposed? Looks like that passes unanimously. All right, thank you, Glenn, for running us through all of that. All right, and we'll move on to our last section of property owner comments before we adjourn.
All right. Looks like we do have a hand raised already. I'll go ahead and bring Nancy on over. And I've added you back here to the meeting, Nancy.
Back so soon?
Go ahead, Nancy.
Oh.
She might be having some mic issues.
It's on.
Nancy, can you hear us? She might be sorting something out on her end. I'll go ahead and move her back to the attendees for now, and she can raise her hand again if she'd like to jump back in. She gets that solved. Sometimes leaving and coming back to the meeting will fix issues like that. I do have another hand raised from Leslie. I'll go ahead and bring Leslie on over. Leslie, I've added you to the meeting. Just go ahead and give your name and address, please.
Okay, Leslie McRoberts, 2 Caddy Lane. I was looking through the contract list, and there's one there that has been bugging me for years that I don't see on the list. We have a contract to maintain our elevator in the administration building. What's the status of that?
We do have it. We found it. It is on. It's not on this list, but we've updated it, and we do still have that.
How close are we to getting rid of that thing?
Getting rid of the elevator?
No, the contract for it.
Or the contract. Well, we have to do something to inspect them, I do believe. So.
Yeah. I would look at it. It was a contract that was made in error by a previous employee who wasn't supposed to have had the authority to do it. But anyway,
we will look at all of them. So we'll take a look.
You're wondering about an elevator, aren't you, Steffi?
No, I'm wondering, it's an old contract.
Yeah.
And
it was on for 10 years. A 10-year contract that was signed by an ex-employee who should not have had the authority to do it, but he did it. So anyway.
Is that the dumbwaiter?
It is the dumbwaiter, and I didn't think that was working anymore.
You guys remember that show Webster?
Well, then they breached their contract.
Yeah.
I think we just solved our own problem. Yeah.
Anyway,
nice.
the second question, I went back because I was looking for a motion and the vote on it from a little while ago. And I've discovered that there are no minutes posted to the website since, last October. And I know that we have approved minutes, but they are not on there. So can we kind of check on that and make sure that, the ones we have approved at least have been signed and going on there? That would be a good thing.
Sure, we'll check on that. Thank you for letting us know.
Okay, and then the final thing, we were talking about conflict of interest and the water district, et cetera, et cetera. There is an attorney's opinion from Rich that it is not a conflict of interest to serve on the 2 boards, and there is no conflict of interest, and you can find that filed in the manager's office at administration. Thank you.
Leslie, are you still there?
I am.
When was that? When was that made or written? Do you know?
Somewhere between 3 and 5 years ago, but as I said, it is filed in the GM's office and administration, along with many other attorneys' opinions. And it may be interesting. I don't know if you have considered going through those and giving that information to the board, previous opinions, so that we don't go back and spend the same money over again to get something that we have already had before.
So sometimes the opinions were a little bit ambiguous as someone who sat on the board or saw the opinions that I was questioning. And I feel like we didn't always get quite a direct answer. We beat around the bush a little bit and left some things vague. And I felt personally like the conflict of interest was, because it stated that anybody would step down from voting, they would abstain. And we didn't always have that. And we didn't have that on our board either. So I think it's an important thing to check out. Also, I mean, an attorney opinion, no disrespect to Mr. Davis, but I've told him it's an opinion. And I believe you were there.
Yeah.
But I also have seen other opinions. And so, I mean, while I value our attorney's opinion and he tends to keep us out of hot water very well, that's his job. I also think that, yeah, we can definitely revisit that, especially for the culture that we're trying to instill in our valley. And I think that Leslie's point of a contract being circulating for 10 years that was signed by the wrong person is a great example of that, that, you know, we do need to revamp some things. And the fact that that contract wasn't cleaned up prior to now is, I mean, that's just another example. So I think it's okay to have a fresh set of eyes. Nobody's trying to run you up the flagpole, Leslie. We want representation. We don't want to pay triple taxes. And they treat Sudden Valley like, you know, I don't know, like a little pinky toe, basically. How many times have you paid attention to your pinky toe? And it's really getting disgusting.
Every time I hit a piece of furniture with it.
Oh, I can't hear you.
Every time I hit a piece of furniture with it, barefoot.
Right. That's how we're treated. That's exactly it. So we were kind of hard on Mr. Clary, but hopefully he'll take that message back. Hey, Sudden Valley deserves representation. So anyway, I thank you. I just wanted to let you know.
He's very good.
All right. Thank you so much, Leslie. I'll go ahead and return you to the attendees at this time. And we have a hand raised from Anne. I'll go ahead and bring Anne on over and just give your name and address, please.
Hi, Ann Cope, 52 Louiseview Drive. I would just like to point out that the attorney makes decisions based on the information he's given. So depending on who's giving him that information, he only works with what he gets. So it's always good to look into things again. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Anne. And I've returned you back to the attendees as well. And I've got another hand raised from Nancy. I'll bring her over again. There you go, Nancy. I've brought you back in.
Yeah, I think I've got it fixed. Sorry about that. I just wanted to say thank you for your support and good night.
Thanks, Nancy. You have a great night as well. All right. Anybody else for property owners' comments? Not seeing any further hands raised at this time.
All right. Well, we will move on to adjournment then. Do I have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Go ahead, Kim.
Seconded.
All right. All those in favor?